Thank you, Concordia, and thank you to the Minister for coming in here this evening to take this topical issue. This was a topical issue I raised with you, Minister, in July. There's two parts to it, really. One was progressing the delivery of the second bridge for Celbridge, and the other part was looking at lands that's identified in the recent local area plan out at Hazelhatch as an area of key and strategic development, a master plan to be carried out for those. So just if I can deal with the issue of the second bridge for Celbridge, I want to acknowledge here in the record of the House positively the work that you have done with me in your role as Minister, your colleague Minister Murphy and Deputy Durkin in supporting this call for delivering the funding to progress the second bridge for Celbridge, and I want to acknowledge that as being hugely positive and very significant. The announcement on Monday under the Urban Regeneration and Development Fund allocated funding to Kildare County Council to progress the second bridge for Celbridge to route selection, which obviously brings us right up to and including the design and tender stage. That's hugely welcome. Celbridge has a population of over 22,000 people. This is something we've been looking for many a year at this stage, and it's actually a gridlock, and to move something like 300-400 metres in the town, it can take up to 45 minutes, which was hugely frustrating for people in living in the area. But at least now, while the second bridge isn't in place, but at least they can see very clearly that there's a path to delivering that. Timelines will start to take shape and people will see an end game in sight, and that's really significant, very important for Celbridge to develop and grow as one of the biggest towns in North Kildare. And again, on the record of the House, I want to acknowledge and thank you for your support and help in ensuring this project was progressed, because when I raised this under topical issue in July with you, Minister, I highlighted the urgency and need for progress in this area. You did give me a commitment on that occasion that you would look at it, that this funding stream was opening up, and that you would look with your officials and support us as positively as you could, and to that you have done, as I say, with Deputy Murphy, or Minister Murphy and Deputy Durkin, so we thank you again for that. Just in relation to the land out at Hazelhatch, this was the other part of the topical. This land is right beside the train station at Hazelhatch, which obviously has got extra frequency and capacity in recent times. And we learned there recently from a meeting with the NTA the DART is going to be coming to Celbridge by 2021, which is hugely positive. It's right beside clear access to the M7, M8 onto the M50, and there's a very accessible route onto the M4, and it's beside all the amenities like the Celbridge JA Club, the tennis club, schools, etc. So it's on that basis that we were looking. This land, as I say, in the local area plan, which has just been endorsed and approved by the local councillors and by your own department, has identified this land as an area of key strategic development. So what we were looking for, when we discussed this in July, is that your officials would actually maybe engage with Kildare County Council and ask them to engage with the landowners to progress the actual master plan, which in turn then would hopefully lead to development of these lands sooner rather than later, given the current crisis that exists and the need for housing, and particularly the location of this land, which isn't really depending on infrastructure. It's pretty much ready to go, but obviously a master plan has to be agreed between all parties, which is particularly Kildare County Council, the department and with the landowners. So to the best of my knowledge, the department has not given that, I suppose, letter of comfort or instruction or detail to the local authority to go and engage on that, the way the as of yes. And I was hoping that maybe around that discussion today we could look and see how soon that correspondence can go from your department, Minister, to Kildare County Council to get them to engage with the landowners to progress the master plan for this area, which in turn will progress the development of housing, which is much needed in this area. So if we could discuss that and get a timeline, but at the same time I want to acknowledge again the positive work you've done in progressing and delivering the funding to help deliver the second bridge for Celbridge. Thank you.
Again,
I want to thank Deputy Rourke for raising this matter and have the opportunity to discuss the advancement of housing and certainly community facilities and planned infrastructure in the Celbridge area, and the continued planned growth of this important town in tandem with the supporting infrastructure is required. I know that this originally was in last Thursday. Minister Murphy had hoped to take it himself because it is an issue he's happy to engage with, and I do welcome your positive comments around the funding announced on the Project B for Celbridge and the other counties as well. Both yourself and Deputy Durcan have raised with myself and Minister Murphy on numerous occasions, and we do recognise the importance that if we are going to have development in key areas like Kildare and namely Celbridge, and bring forward housing proposals, we also have to provide the infrastructure so we can do this in a coordinated, planned way. Minister Murphy and the Taoiseach have made it very clear when we were announcing Project 2040 that there would be 4 or 5 funds announced later in the year, which did happen then in May or June, to back up Project 2040 and to make sure our plans are realistic as well. And you rightly identified the importance of the bridge and the relief road for Celbridge as key areas that we are going to be able to develop these lands in a positive way for the existing town, but also provide housing for people who from the area who want to have their own house and others who want to live in the area too. So it's a proper coordinated structure. That's what we're trying to achieve with good planning and good infrastructure development, and that's what the funding through the Urban Renewal Fund was about as well. So again, to recognise your comments on that and to recognise the importance of having these discussions in here too, to make sure we get all this right. And again, both yourself and Deputy Durcan have kept us on the ball on that. So again, I want to thank Frank O'Rourke for raising this here again today and giving us a chance to outline where we are with development as well. The Celbridge Local Area Plan 2017-2023 was adopted by the elected members in August 17 and came into effect 14 September 2017. It's hard to believe it's a year ago because we had a lot of discussions around that from other parts of the Celbridge plan as well. As Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, we welcome the fact that the plan supports the provision of substantial new housing development in a key urban area close to Dublin. Kildare County Council, in its current development plan, has earmarked Celbridge to grow to a population of about 10,000, population of about 10,000 people over the next 5 to 10 years. And again, as we're discussing here today, that planned development in the present years, but also over the next 7 or 8, 10 years as well. We need to plan for this increase, and we need to ensure that Celbridge grows in a coherent fashion with the timely delivery of new infrastructure that will be needed for this expanded population. And that includes lands that are ready for development today, but also to make sure that we make good use of our infrastructure, be it bridges, be it roads, be it train stations, that we plan the development up close to them as well in a giant and coordinated fashion. In particular, I welcome the provisions of the plan enabling for future housing growth on the southern side of the town, in proximity to the existing commuter rail station at Hazel Hatch, that you've mentioned yourself as well, and around that. This development strategy is consistent with established national and regional planning policy, which encourages new housing accessible to such high-quality public transport facilities in the interest of sustainable development. Importantly, the LAP also identifies the key pieces of strategic infrastructure that are required to be delivered as part of the planned new housing development areas. The phasing arrangements set out in section 13 of the LAP include requirements in relation to the provision of new road, bridge, open space and other facilities that will support the new homes to be constructed. Design briefs are also provided for the 5 key development areas earmarked for further housing development, which will further assist in ensuring the construction of quality residential neighbourhoods that are integrated into the existing urban fabric of the town. Again, as part of the rollout of the local area plan and in the interests of supporting the integrated development of housing within the LAP, Kildare County Council is committed to preparing a transport mobility management plan to support the sustainable growth of the town. State agencies, along with my own department, and I understand the National Transport Authority, will be active in the support of the development of such a plan, which will inform future infrastructure delivery. And again, it's very important that we get the infrastructure right. I understand that Irish Water is in the process of upgrading the leak-slip wastewater treatment plant, which serves Celbridge, and is also actively working to address identified constraints in the local wastewater system, in particular the upgrading of the local pumping station. These measures will actively support the ongoing and future delivery of housing in Celbridge. Also, we mentioned the fund earlier on and again, that's about enabling lands to be developed in a coordinated way, and that, again, Celbridge was successful in that in the weeks as well. So again, our department are ready. I'll check the status of communication between our department and Kildare County Council, but as a department and our planners are very happy to engage with our own team in Kildare Local Authority to develop the lands that are set aside for development now, and also to master plan the next phase of that as well. And that's what we're there for, trying to do this in a coordinated way, so we'll be happy to engage around that as well. But certainly the lead authority is Kildare, and they've been doing that through their plan over the last year too, so we're happy to engage and build on that in the future as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister, and that's extremely positive in relation to progressing those lands out at Hazel Hatch, because they are, as I say, identified as key development area and strategic in their location. And actually, when you talk about the wastewater plant being upgraded, the wastewater plant in Leakslip has been upgraded. I think it was to the tune of 32 million was the cost of the upgrade, which was completed and commissioned about maybe 12, 14 months ago. So the difficulty now is the infrastructure getting the wastewater to that. And Irish Water has carried out a number of actually site investigations, and they're hoping, my understanding is from working with the local authority, to progress the start of that project sometime in 2019. which means that will be very timely, because obviously there'll be some time involved in getting the master plan put together. But I suppose the key is, Minister, is that how can we move this on from here, as in getting the master plan done? Because the key stakeholder here, which is the landowner, they are willing to carry out the master plan. They will put in all the financial resources to do it, but obviously they need guidance and direction from Kildare County Council as the lead player in this. And we wouldn't expect the local authority to do the master plan, because to be fair, they wouldn't be resourced, because they're under pressure doing other local area plans and dealing with planning applications coming in on a regular basis into Kildare as well. So we're not actually even looking at the local authority to resource this. The landowners, they're willing to do all the resourcing of it. All what they're looking to do is to get the local authority to engage with them, bring them into a meeting and say, look, let's start this process now. This is the guidelines, this is what you need to do, and this is the template. And obviously once that happens, then the process will progress from there. But Kildare County Council informed me they need obviously some communication from the department to get this kick-started, because as soon as that happens and all those stakeholders engage, well then mine and your job, Minister, is finished, because they will obviously start the conversation, they'll start the planning, they'll start the discussion. Whatever the time it takes, but at least it's commenced. And the difficulty we have now is that from July to now, nothing has commenced, and that would be nice if that could happen as soon as possible. Thank you.
Again, Chair, I'll keep it short because we've been over time to ask them. Again, building on the announcement on Monday in relation to the funding for the ability to progress some of the infrastructure requirements there, it's important that they act on that quite quickly now as a local authority, and I hope that they will, and engage with all the relevant departments as well to move through the system there as well. So on foot of that, certainly, and on foot of the plan that's there, my department will continue to work with Kildare County Council to support in developing appropriate housing in the key locations such as Celbridge and other key urban centres across the country in accordance with adopted statutory plans. And certainly we'll get the communication going in relation to the master planning of the different areas and developing that out too, because we want to be very clear, not just in relation to Celbridge but other parts of Kildare too. I've stressed as a minister in the area, along with our officials, we're happy to engage both with the local authority staff but also with the councillors around other zoning issues as well. They want to tease out on their plans for the counties too in relation to league SIP and other places too. But certainly around Celbridge it would be important now that our department and the local authority have those conversations about the planning system. So I certainly will engage around that, and if resources are required to do the planning and master planning, that's something we can look at in conjunction, as you say, with landowners who are happy to do that too as part of their duty too. But now that some of the infrastructure has been sorted out, there are appropriate conversations to have, so I'll certainly see where they're at and make sure we can progress those conversations, because we do believe that the focus now is for all stakeholders, the council, local businesses and stakeholders, state agencies as well as the wider community, should be on implementing the Celbridge local area plan. And I wish to again confirm that both I and my department will work proactively with Kildare County Council in this regard on infrastructure delivery and sustainable urban development, because it's key, and there's a lot of key sites there that could be developed in Celbridge to make good use of infrastructure. And certainly when there's a train station provided, and like my own train station into County Meath and into the Dunboyne area will be upgraded to DART status, it's important that we make sure that they're utilised to their full potential as well. So we'll try and get that conversation going as best we possibly can.